And we are live. Welcome to our Guru Talks. Here we have our host Yaro and our guest Lanky, CEO of ApeBond. Guys, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Nark. Thanks for the intro. Lanky, welcome to the show. I'm Yaro. I'm the host of Guru Talks. Kind of want to give you a quick rundown of what Guru Talks really is about. We're not going deep in tech. We're not about diving deep into the crypto Web3. This is more of a light format for more casual, for more just curious people who are around Web3 or heard about Web3 and really want to understand what it is about. I am kind of new to Web3 as well, maybe 9, 10 months in, and I'm just fascinated by abilities and opportunities Web3 offers. And therefore, I'm super pumped to have you on this podcast. When I was preparing for this chat, I was like, this is so awesome because you really can highlight all the benefits of Web3 in terms of capabilities that never existed before. And that would be just super fascinating. Lanky, welcome. And I will pass it on to you to kind of do a little intro, talk about ApeBond for a little bit, and then I'll dive deeper into some more questions.
Amazing, amazing. No, love to be here. Thanks for the invite. My name is Lanky. I'm the CEO at ApeBond. My background is in marketing. I've been working in marketing since 2014, so 11 years now. and well, I started getting into crypto, but super basic level in 2016, 2017. And in 2021, I joined ApeSwap, which was one of the leading dexes on BNB chain. At that point, well, you guys, even if you are kind of new, I'm sure you must know PancakeSwap. So ApeSwap was like a big competitor of PancakeSwap on BNB chain. It was the number two DEX after Pancake, and that at the peak in 2021, the TVL was 750 million. Um, and well, ApeSwap has ever since also in 2022 started transitioning to doing bonds, which is basically what we call an on-chain OTC marketplace. And well, we started focusing more and more on bonds, and we rebranded into ApeBond from ApeSwap. That was on 2023, and ever since then we have dedicated ourselves to bonding, which I can go deeper into details later on.
We will.
But yeah, for sure. But I think that's most of it. I was um, having the role of in marketing and as a CMO. And as of earlier this year, we had a DAO vote to continue and change our leadership, and I was voted as a CEO of the Apes. So a bit new to this function, and always I will always be a marketer, but now taking care of the leadership as a whole.
Once a marketer, always a marketer, right? um,
Exactly.
I'm really happy that you are from marketing background. I did not know that about you because marketers have this ability of telling stories, very complex stories, in a simplified way to deliver to the masses, right? And I think this is what Web3 is really missing, because Web3 has all these capabilities that kind of were not available before. Web3 is changing the way how banking's done, finance done, and a lot of different other processes. This is when we can dive into the bonds, because I feel like this is sort of the mechanic that was not available before, right? Don't you agree that like the Web3 opened up this new mechanic that now exists but wouldn't otherwise?
Absolutely agree. Not just that, but a lot of mechanics and a lot of new marketing ways. When you get people with a lot of people with skin in the game, even if you think for the community and for KOLs, and everyone that can be involved in the project. Opens up a lot of new ways to market. And also in DeFi, well, we have all these, a lot of people are anonymous, but behind the wallet addresses, there's real users, and sometimes it's tricky, but you need to break that barrier, sort of thing. So it's a blessing and a challenge at the same time, I guess.
True. And we all know that like the Web3 community is very tight, it's very strong, and there is a lot more people who are curious and taking it seriously, especially from corporate world. They always heard about Web3, they were cautious, they were just looking around, trying to understand it. Let's just say that our audience is the corporate America who is listening to this, or similar people who have resources, potentially want to invest, want to be part of Web3, but still kind of getting their mind around what it's all about. I feel like you would be the perfect person to kind of lead them into it. If you can do it in simplified terms, explaining on a basic level what this all about, why it matters,
Well,
that would be.
on a super basic level, I would say that fiat money and the US dollar is a freaking Ponzi, right? So you have, an entity that's centralized and can emit money endlessly, and things are not transparent, and you're subject to all the inflation, and who end up paying the inflation is the people, right? Because it's the banks are emitting money, um, or the governments are emitting money, and then well, your money is worth less every time, and also there's all of this control that it's out there. So for starters, I would say first and foremost, Bitcoin, which is the visible face of crypto, has a hard cap, so it's a scarce resource, or a scarce store of value. So naturally, it will always uh, be worth more in theory, right? None of this is financial advice, but as a store of value, something that cannot be emitted is gonna be more valuable that something that is emitted to pay debts on the same currency, basically. Other than that, the the ability for the users to have the custody of their own money, not have it on a bank, and have all the transparency that brings Web3, because everything is on chain. That's something that it's a revolution on its own, because Web3 is here to give the power to the people on their financial freedom. I think that's the biggest of it all. Basically, taking the power away from centralized entities and give it to the people. And with that also comes challenges, but that's what a lot of protocols are trying to solve. But yeah, I would say in general, if you want to get into crypto, first, it's not only about try to make the quick buck, but the technology here is here to stay, and the main thing is having this better. It's better on all aspects as a way of having a currency. So the world's currency right now is the US dollar, and I think the paradigm could, is in the process of changing to have Bitcoin be the reserve currency of the world, and that's what we are seeing.
Yeah, let's talk about technology, because I really think this is what majority of our audience would be interested in understanding. I truly believe that, let's say, we had a 2D tech, right? When people were exchanging hand to hand, just real goods for real goods, or they had the golden tokens, or golden coins, and they had to carry them in store. It was just not great, and you couldn't go and buy something thousands of miles away without actually grabbing that physical money and moving it. Then we have 3D kind of world where now we have banks, a centralized, locations, and you can store your money in a bank account and have access to it online. And I feel like Web3 kind of breaks that and makes it into 4D space in that sense, because now you have new mechanics that kind of open up new opportunities overall. Like, just it wouldn't be possible otherwise, right? And this is where I think bonds are really, really cool. Like, it's just a whole new mechanic that people usually think bonds is like, oh, this is government papers, something you can buy. How is this connected to Web3? How does this work? But it's actually a whole different thing, right? I'll pass it on to you to kind of discuss about bonds in Web3. What do they do? Maybe you can backtrack towards tokenization and tokenomics, how it works, and then switch to bonds to add.
Mhm. Sure, 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 sure. Um, well, I would say that the technology side of things that DeFi brings, because if we need to explain first, like super basic concept of what is DeFi. DeFi mostly happens on chain, different blockchains where that can support this thing we call smart contracts. And the smart contracts are, well, a contract that is digitally on functions and code. But bottom line is that you can have certain conditions for a contract. Let's say you, for example, you imagine a real world contract of a rent, and you have to pay every month this amount. Well, this is the same, but with a code that will automatically, let's say, charge you every month a certain amount of money, for example, just as a basic example. So it's on chain and everyone can see it and it's fair and nobody can change the rules. So with smart contracts, you enable a lot of possibilities on DeFi where you can have protocols and products that interact with these smart contracts. Our product, which is bonds, was actually, yes, inspired a bit by TradFi bonds. And we will operate similarly to a bank. I'd say we, as ApeBond, we will be sort of like a bank where a lot of different partners on our website want to distribute their tokens. So there's a lot of different tokens and crypto assets on Web3. Even most people know the top 10 or 15 or 20 projects, but it's actually thousands of different projects with their own token. And these projects have a lot of their native token. And well, let's say you have the Yarrow token and you want to distribute this to users in exchange of dollars that could be in crypto like the USDT, or you want to raise Bitcoin. Um, so basically, we help these projects distribute these tokens via bonds, and the bonds are issued to users that can buy this Yarrow token at a slight discount. Let's say they can buy Yarrow at a 10% discount compared to the market price, but they in exchange of vesting the token, basically receiving the token on a certain and set period of time that usually ranges from 30 to 120 days. So instead of getting the tokens all at once, they will linearly be able to claim as the bond matures. So they will only be able to have the 100% of the Yarrow tokens after the vesting period ends, after, let's say, the 60-day period ends. But they got this discounted price. So all in all, that's the basic of how bonds work. And we have been helping over 250 partners raise funds and liquidity for their tokens. And we're close to $25 million raised for projects. So yeah, it's always expanding, and we're looking to go to new markets and different blockchains. But yeah, that will be the high level concept.
Let me kind of iterate on this or clarify. So basically, the token has specific price, right? And you as a user can go and just buy some amount of tokens of the market. But through you guys, you would get like over the counter deal, which gives you a some portion of discount or bonus, you can say, to the
Mm-hmm.
tokens that you would buy for the same amount of money. But you're also getting it through vesting. Therefore, you can kind of think of it as a interest, right? It's just putting some money in 30, 60, 100 day. I don't know what the terms are, but you are getting that in sense of like interest, which is a new mechanic that is not introduced today in the Web 2 world. Same way, like you mentioned, the smart contract. It's like if you were to, in modern day, if we are buying a SaaS product for the year, right? What company wants? Company wants to know that, hey, this client, they will be using my product for 1 year and they're going to pay me X amount of dollars for this, right? And currently, you have two ways. You can take all the money up front and provide the service for 1 year, or you can break it down into monthly, but then you're not guaranteed that you're going to be, that the client will stay for the whole year. Therefore, you're risking not to get the full value. Like they might use it for 6 months, drop out, and there is no punishment or kind of no system to collect the rest of the 6 months money because you provided the product that potentially gives you all value the months 1, 2, and 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with
Yeah.
the smart contract approach, this is when you can assign everything, agree upon, and it's all automatic, right? You don't have control over that. Both parties agreed, and everything's on schedule now. So it's a new mechanic that is introduced to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, um, outside of bonds, the option that projects have, and they do this a lot to raise funds, is OTC deals, but traditional OTC deals, and a lot of these are made manually. Let's say, again, as an example, you have the Yarrow um, project, and you have your token, and you are kind of new, and you need to raise, I don't know, $50,000, because you need to pay for expenses, for marketing, you need to pay to get listed on an exchange, or you need to pay your team of developers or whatever. A lot of projects would go to BC, or OTC aggregator to get a deal, where you would give, um, let's say you give 100K worth of your token to this BC. You're gonna be selling that, but usually they have a haircut, or a discount of around 40% on average, and you're selling all of this allocation to a single entity, right?
Mhm.
Um, what we are doing with ApeBond is we democratize this and we put the OTC on chain. So instead of getting one buyer that's going to have a 40% on that huge amount of tokens, you're going to get 100 buyers or 200 buyers that can range from small users to bigger whales. That maybe a whale buys, a big user buys 10K of that bond, but then maybe there's users that are buying 1K, and there are users that are buying $100 on, maybe some users are buying just $10. But this is on chain, and everyone can come in publicly and get on this OTC deal. With this, we democratize that, and the users, in general, are, you know, getting a deal where they buy their this token at a discount, let's say 10% or 15%, and what we offer is a much higher return on the investment for the project. On average, our ROI for tokens is 87% currently, compared to the average 60% of traditional and classic OTCs. So you not only get a bigger return on the tokens as a project, but you're also engaging and generating new holders, new users, because you're distributing to many more users. As a user, if you think about from the perspective of a user, let's say you've heard about this new project, the Yarrow project, and you want to get into it. So for you, the best way to do that, if you're gonna hold long term, you won't care too much about vesting for 60 days if you plan to hold it anyway. So why would you trade it on the market at the market price if you can get it with a slight discount? So these tokens that the users are buying are not taken away from the liquidity pools, are not on the market, so are tokens that you have on your project wallet. And yeah, that's I think that's
Yeah,
a win-win scenario for projects and for users.
absolutely. And Lanky, I really want to spend this time, this episode, diving into mechanics of Web3 because we haven't done that with any of our previous guests. We would talk about finance, just different perspectives. But I feel like with you, we can really break that down because there is so much going on. So bonds, I think we kind of understand, which I do. I hope our listeners too. I want to kind of go back to like why tokens matter. What are they like? Right. I want you to kind of walk us through from traditional fundraise point of view, like how a typical company gets money today versus how they can do that in Web3 before token generation event, and then how can they use the tokens after to benefit themselves, to grow, to expand, just by having support from the masses, right? Versus the modern typical way of doing that in Web 2. Because I think that's fascinating. It just changes the game, it changes the rules, it opens up so many opportunities. And founders who are listening to us right now might rethink their strategy of fundraise. And frankly, only 1% or less of all companies fundraising out there in Web 2 actually IVC backable. Therefore, it will be pretty much impossible, and 99% of those companies will have to give up and just quit their idea just because they couldn't raise funds from typical VCs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they couldn't raise funds through Web3. So let's talk about that.
Sure. No, great questions. First, I'd say that uh, why have a token as project? Well, I guess if you want to raise, it's great to have a token because it's a way sort of to have like a stock and skin in the game, where you own a piece of a company, right? It's kind of a stock, tokenized stock, I would say, for a company. Although there are a lot of projects that have their token as a goal to just raise the money and make buck, and not as a real utility for the project. So generally, the good projects that are out there, the tokens have a purpose there. So, for example, there's a huge array of projects, but let's say you are a launchpad. So, let's say you incubate other projects. Well, generally, launchpads have their own token, and for users, depending on how many of those tokens you have, it depends. It changes the conditions where you can get on a launchpad sale. You get different benefits, for example, or there's a lot of games that these are called GameFi projects, where which their own tokens are the native currency of the game, and they give you additional perks, blah blah blah.
I want
There's
to add
Yeah.
here. So when you traditionally start a company in Web 2, you issue shares as a C corp or S corp, and then you can add more shares as you go. You can reissue unlimited amount of shares just with approval of the board. In Web 3, when you issue your tokens, you immediately set up a total supply, right? The final number that your company
Mhm.
ever gonna have.
Not
And
necessarily. There's projects that are inflationary and can emit without a hard cap. Um, yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. That's interesting. But also, I wanted to add that there is two routes to think about tokens. First route is just like shares, ownership in the project, and second, utility. Sometimes they mix, sometimes they don't mix at all. But I think it's kind of important to also mention in here because people get them confused. Like the same way with Bitcoin, for example. People sometimes think it's, supposed to be for the exchange between people, and sometimes it's perceived just as store of value, which both are correct, but depends on which case you're trying to use it. Uh, Anyways, pass it on to you.
No, sure. There's a mix, I guess, of the reasons for the tokens. Yeah, it's you have the incentives to have as a share, this skin in the game, where you can be a customer, but you have the token, and anyone can access it easier than getting stocks for a company. Also, to be able to, as a company, have the stocks and be listed on important exchanges, you need, there's a huge entry barrier there. So it's easier for a project to get listed and distribute shares in the form of tokens in Web3. There's also the factor of, a lot of times the tokens have a governance purpose where they can vote on the decisions of projects. There's this thing called DAOs, like ApeBond is, where decisions need to be voted on via governance, and you have also access to gated content or features. So the tokens are, they can be programmed to have an utility and not just as a currency. So yeah, I would say those all combinations make sense to have a token, but sometimes you can be a project in Web3 without a token, and that's absolutely fine. There's a lot of those. So yeah, I would say to have a token, you ideally have some utility for it, for users to use it, not just for speculation. Although, of course, there's all this whole world of what's called meme coins, which don't hold really much utility, and that's just memes. But they also push boundaries of Web3 as they help popularize crypto. And you can see Elon with the cap that says Doge, for Dogecoin, Dogecoin, and that's fine. But you already know from the get-go that the token is not meant to revolutionize anything like tangibly. It's just for fun and speculation, and that's also fine. But in our case, for example, our token, our users that hold, the more tokens you hold, you have a tier, an ape tier on ApeBond, which gives you access to special bonds that are exclusive to you, and also they unlock extra discounts, and you can also get access to real yield, which will be revenue share from what our platform makes. So the incentives are aligned between our holders and the success of our platform.
Are these reward distribution from revenue share or any other way, are they on smart contract, or is that more of a manual?
No, of course, it's on smart contracts. And for example, if our supply, it's 440 million tokens, from which over 150 million of those are staked or locked in our revenue share contracts. So yes, you put those in smart contracts. All happens in an interface in a website, and you can lock the tokens. The longer you lock them, the bigger is going to be your rewards, and you can see your earnings go up there, and you can claim them, and with the earnings you can liquidate them, and make money off of that. So right now our real yield is denominated in BNB rewards. So you stake or you lock a bond, which is our token, and you get BNB, which is the Binance token, as a reward.
Yeah, amazing. You see, like for Web2 users, for example, if you have an affiliate program and you're selling a product, currently your affiliates would be like, well, how can I know that you made money of my link, how many transactions there were, and you have to rely on some sort of dashboard that is designed by the same company. And there's lack of trust, transparency. You never know. You just have to like kind of hope and be like, okay, there is no better alternative. But there is. In Web3, you can do it on smart contract. It's all transparent, where that money came from, through what affiliate link, and immediately everything's being distributed without anybody even touching the funds. It's all done automatically, which technology exists today. We have it. It just has to be happening through crypto because this is on blockchain and it's being trackable. And therefore, I think that's the future. And the mission of this show is to really deliver the message of use cases of things that you can do in Web3 that you couldn't do in Web2. It's not supposed to be just a place of total animosity and chaos, because it's not. Like, it has fantastic technology, it has fantastic applications, and I think the goal is to kind of change the image of Web3 world and bring more users, companies, use cases to this. I think ApeBond is already doing that. I think it's fantastic. What's the future for ApeBond looking like?
Great questions. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's a lot of innovation possible. Although one thing I wanted to say before I go to ApeBond's future is that at the same time, people need to do a lot of research because there's a lot of a lack of originality sometimes in crypto, and things that are a lot of copycats and people that are trying to make just some money. And well, you need to navigate through a lot of crap to find valuable projects. There are a lot of remixes and flavor of the month trends, like at some point was on NFTs, then on AI, then on real world assets, and so on. So always people need to do a lot of research and don't fall for all tricks of persuasion, and need to investigate properly. But yeah, there's also a lot of, at the same time, original projects that bring a lot of new technologies to the table. In our case, what's next for ApeBond? Well, ApeBond's main focus on DeFi is to help a lot of other DeFi projects, a lot of crypto projects. We help them raise funds and liquidity for their tokens, and in that way, we are building their treasuries and make them sustainable to grow as a whole. So we help a lot of projects. At the same time, for us, we're always looking to expand our product to new chains. So there are a lot of different blockchains. Ethereum is one. It's the main DeFi blockchain, but you have others like Solana or Sonic or Base or Arbitrum or BNB chain, and so on and so forth. So our goal is to expand to as many chains as possible to help as many projects as possible. And additionally, for ourselves, we also want to improve on this alignment of incentives. As I say, we are working on revamping more the revenue share mechanics so that all the users are incentivized and are tied to the platform. And we are always looking for more user experience improvements to educate the users and show them how much benefits, how many benefits they got from buying bonds, and so on and so forth. And also something that is interesting for us in the future as a longer term kind of plans is integrating more the Web3 bonds that we do with traditional TradFi bonds and get real world assets into our platform as well. So I would say that's most of it. But yeah, the mission that we have is helping other projects become sustainable and grow with us and distribute to users. while keeping them, secure, educated, and transparent, and do so transparently, sir. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think it sounds all exciting. And maybe next we should talk about the real world assets, because I'm super curious about your position, perspective, and vision for that being added to ApeBond's offering. Before we do that, I kind of want to celebrate something with you. It's kind of funny
Mhm.
that today, June 6th, is exactly 1 year since we launched our Guru token. And
Mhm.
I really want to kind of use this opportunity to explain what opportunities that gives to the project. So, in typical world, you would have to go to VCs and fundraise, and they have these charts and systems that they listen to your pitch, and they just put, plus or minus. You collect points, and then if you get enough points, they're like, okay, we're going to give you money, right? And therefore, it's kind of hard. You have to know a lot of relationships, take a lot of time, and stuff like that. With Web 2, when you announce your token generation event, TGE, this is when you can collect funds from the audience, from the market, to support your project, right? And then when the token goes live, everybody who contributed gets their tokens, aka shares, immediately, and they can use them however they kind of want to use
Mhm.
them. So that gives them freedom as well. But then
Mhm.
post, this is what the interesting part is like, okay, well, what do you do then, right? You fundraise, you got a little bit of capital, you're going, let's say a year goes by, you got some development in, you got some results in, but you need more cash. You need more money to keep going, to keep building. This is when the ape bond comes in, or other OTC offerings, because you do have still the like set or treasury full of tokens that you are kind of selling to the market, and you're funding your project as you go. It's not maybe the most desirable way, because ideally any business should be profitable, right? Like that's the idea, to get to that point. But Web3 gives you other tools to kind of support yourself, to run with this. And I think this is kind of fascinating how this all works. So I'm super grateful for Web3. I think it provided us amazing tools to grow and build cool projects. With my previous guests, already discussed a lot of different directions, and like my personal projections, where what Web3 will be shining at. One of them was security. I think that's where people working with anonymous people and wallets and irreversible tools or irreversible transactions kind of makes you want to build something that will provide that level of security. So I think that would be kind of interesting angle. Also, the real world assets. I think that is kind of
Mhm.
fascinating how that works. So
Yeah.
tell us more about that.
No, absolutely. Well, real world assets, for people that are not familiar with them, it's a way to tokenize, physical products or real tangible things. Like, let's say, for example, we had this partner that did bonds with us. That was a winery. So this winery, let's say you have a limited batch of premium wine that you produce every year, and the wine is there, you know where it's stored, and it gets tokenized. So there's this physical product is also turned into a digital asset. And what that changes is that people from all over the world can tap into and buy this digital asset. So it can be traded as simple as doing a few clicks, and it's very very easy to have it as an asset that you can exchange. You can even trade it before it's done. Let's say before it's bottled. So like it's a future asset. It can also be fractionalized. Maybe you want to own just 10% of a rare vintage batch of wines or whatever, and it can also be used as collateral, or it can be part of an investment portfolio. And there are a lot of different things that can get more and more intertwined there, and it's verifiable on chain. So yeah, it's in the blockchain, which means it's in a public place that everyone can see, and you can verify the origin, the authenticity, or even the age of the wine or whatever. And this real world assets, most times you can, you know, get it on the real world as well. If you want it to be shipped or redeemed for you, you can get it. But it's the way to get it into the market on a digital way, sort of say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard of multiple cool examples. For example, watches, they're over $10,000, $100,000. They do come with NFT. Well, I heard of the Swiss. They give you Swiss passport, like legit passport, just as you were to be a Swiss citizen. They give you the same passport, but it's a watch instead of your photo and its description of the watch, and you get that coming along with the watch, right? Um,
Really? I didn't know that.
it's
That's
kind of
cool.
funny, yeah. But the next step for them to obviously do the NFT connected to it so that you can just verify that you are the real owner. Because if you are selling that watch, what is the better way to prove it is being like, hey, look, I'm also passing you this NFT, right?
Yeah.
That gives you peace of mind. How do you feel about you know about Ferraris, right? Ferraris, you
Mhm,
can't just buy them. You can go to a dealership, drop the bag, and get a Ferrari.
mhm,
You really have to be part of the club. You have to be invited. You there are a bunch of rules that you can do. Well, it's a membership, right? And the point is, I feel like Ferrari would be the next coolest thing to do NFT membership that you can pass through, or you can be awarded that
mhm,
status with a car. And this is sort
mhm,
of part of the thing. Talking about another utility, right? And I don't know if it's a bittersweet story, but you guys are, apes. Kind of brings me back to the ape NFT. Was huge hype. That was the biggest thing that everybody probably heard of, seen. I think it was a huge success from marketing point of view. But it also was
Yeah.
supposed to be, or still has. I don't know. You tell me. Um,
We actually developed ape NFTs before the bored ape NFTs. It's kind of funny. We had the NFAs, which were the non-fungible apes, and this collection was launched in 2021, before the famous bored ape yacht club NFTs. So that's kind of funny.
right, the good
But yeah,
idea. But tell me,
yeah.
tell me, is it still going on? Is it still happening? Did they ever have a single event or not?
You mean the NFTs or the bored apes?
Yeah, the yacht club. Yeah, yeah. Because they were supposed to come with like a membership that you can get to these events,
Mhm.
right? Exclusive events. If you own it, you can come. Um,
I didn't follow their status right now. To be honest, I'm not sure about that, so I wouldn't be able to answer. But we could check. I'm not really sure if they deliver on those promises. Maybe they did.
is it possible to attach like a smart contract to NFT? For example, the reason I'm saying it is the problem that I saw immediately is
Mhm,
okay, you issue this collection of 1,000 or whatever, 10,000 of these NFTs, and you sell them and you make, let's say, $100 million, which is enough for having multiple events for many
mhm,
years. Then what happens afterwards, right? When you run out of that money, you kind of need to have a either second season pass that you redo it again, or potentially would be ideal if you can have a small fee on top of the NFT if you own it. Now you have to pay a specific fee to be still part of this club, and then you can sustain this forever, right? And then it kind of makes sense. uh,
mhm.
do you think it's possible to attach a specific smart contract to NFTs? And
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is definitely possible, and there are a lot of smart contracts that interact with NFTs. Even on the marketplaces, there are auctions that are basically smart contracts to see who wants to bid more. And there are things that you can do with NFTs. Let's say you have a super expensive NFT that is worth $100,000, and let's say you have some need or an emergency or whatever, or you need some liquidity, but you don't want to sell it. So in some protocols, you can put this NFT as a collateral and take a loan out of that, which will have some interest. But you have this collateral as an NFT, and this is all happening on a smart contract level. And you can get a loan of other tokens that you can liquidate, and you can pay for whatever you need, basically. So yeah, there's a lot of smart contracts that interact with NFTs, and there's some cool ideas out there as well.
Hmm. Love it. That sounds pretty cool. Um, earlier you mentioned that you have to verify the projects, you have to do your research, and I feel like this is the biggest kind of entry point for people to Web3. There is a lot of research need to be done. Like, I feel like there has to be a easy explainer or breakdown, or I don't know, infographic of like kind of giving you an overall levels of like, hey, there is many chains. It's not just one chain. Hey, this is how it works. This is what smart contract is. This is the pieces. This is how it works together, right? It's quite
Mhm.
complicated, and you have to do lots of research just to make sure that the project you are trying to buy tokens of or NFTs from is actually a legit, real project doing something cool. Therefore,
Mhm.
I'm very excited to see a company, a project, I would say even like a security standard coming to Web3, something that has a seal of approval, being like, hey, this has been verified, this has been proven, this is something you can buy, so that a person who is coming to Web3, all they have to do is just look for that seal. All they have to do is just like, hey, does this project have it? Okay, great. Then I can just buy. I know for sure this is something real. And it will basically divide the internet or the Web3 into like dark web, enter at your own risk,
Mhm.
and then the typical browser experience that we have today with Google and everything else.
Yeah. No, I think like unfortunately, like having some sort of seal that something is approved or not, I think that will also go against like the democracy of allowing new projects into the space that need to get that certification, sort of say. Unfortunately, I'd say that there's no easy way into DeFi, right? If you want to get into DeFi, you will need to go through a learning curve. But I think of crypto and Web3 as a whole as a super a massive conglomerate of rabbit holes. So you start on the surface like an iceberg, and maybe for you that's Bitcoin, and you can start there, and then you start to uncover more and more things, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And the fun thing for this of this, for me at least, is that you can always go deeper, and there's always something new to learn, and there's always some innovation happening. So that's a great thing, and also a very could be a very stressful thing, because in a span of a few months, there's a lot of stuff going on that you want to stay ahead of the curve, and be on top of the new technologies and innovations. And sometimes a few months can feel like a few years, but not to be intimidated by these. I think the best approach for people that want to get into crypto is to start slow with basic things, with the top known currencies, and then you can start trying a bit more here and there. I would recommend for people to get into the communities, like for example in Telegram or Discord or even Twitter. And more often than not, the community itself helps other users that are trying to understand, or there are guides to be onboarded, and try to welcome people and learn more and more. But you need to go through this learning process. It's not going to be, you know I know you mentioned an idea to simplify things for people. Okay, I don't want to do a lot of research. Tell me what is legit and what's not. But I guess with this, we're giving power to the people. It's a great thing, but with this power, it also comes the responsibility. If you're gonna be the custodial of your financial investments, you have the responsibility to get informed and learn what you're doing. If you don't want to do that, I guess you can invest with people that can manage this for you. For example, reserve currencies that do investments and generate yield, and you kind of can set and forget. Or you can get into the main kind of tokens like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and just don't get too deep on it. But yeah, I guess that there's a beauty in also learning a lot of these complex protocols, and it's something that you need to research and do your analysis to see what's good and what's not. And yeah, it's a learning process with along the way you have lessons.
True, true, and sometimes lessons can cost.
Yeah,
Question for you: like, do you think Robinhood and Coinbase, just like centralized exchanges, is a valid Web3 experience, or is this sort of just like a, I don't know, easy ticket in for those who don't want to even do any research?
I think they're valid. It's a spicy topic, but they're valid as a gateway to be onboarded for users. There's also a bridge. It can also act as a bridge to decentralization. They can be a starting point where you then bridge to a decentralized exchange, and you open up this whole new world. And sexes also support Web3 ecosystems, but it's not really Web3 in the sense that it's generally custodial by default. So you don't control your keys, you don't control your crypto. That's fundamentally anti Web3, and it's closed source, or there's not a lot of transparency of what happens inside these private infrastructures, and it's opaque instead of transparent. They're profit driven, so it's not like community governed or anything like that, not permissionless or trustless. And there's a lot of surveillance and regulation as well that also goes against decentralization. But they're complying with other institutions and things like that, and I guess they can act as a bridge to get more people into Web3. So they're Web3 adjacent, I would say, not Web3 native, and valid ways to get into, like on ramping. And yeah, that's a lot of ecosystem players that need to operate on a centralized level, and that's fine. I think they can coexist, and it's a way, I guess, for people to get into the actual and the real Web3.
Yeah, I guess for those who are like super scared of Web3, that would be a great way to start. However, I don't think it's a real Web3 experience only because you cannot really support projects. You cannot participate in staking, in any gaining any like benefits, bonuses, really feel like the power or the technology of Web3 because it's fascinating things that you can do, accesses you can get. It's just fun too. It's super exciting to explore that world when you actually open up your first Web3 wallet. So I encourage everyone, just try to explore, see how you can get a Web3 wallet, and start learning, start participating. I think you can pay a little ticket price, $100, and get different coins, different networks, all that activated for yourself, and start exploring what are the possibilities. While you're playing with this is when you really will, it will, the moment will come to your mind, aha moment, like, wow, okay, I get it, this is cool. So I hope this is more of an encouragement.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that that's absolutely right. I just think that to give some credit to centralized exchanges is that they can act as the starting point and as the gateway to bridge into Web3, to actual Web3. So gotta give them credit for that. But really, the magic is happening on on chain and on the actual Web3 space. So yeah, I agree with you. It's also a great feeling to be your own owner of all of your financial investments and have this financial freedom.
Yeah. Lanky, what excites you in Web3 right now? What are you looking forward to?
What excites me in Web3 right now is all the growth and the adoption and the possibilities that are being unlocked. And I guess we are on a cycle that where people are, you know, realizing that it's important to have actual value, actual products, and I think that the learning curve is getting there in the sense of more and more people are actually understanding what this is all about and finding out the real use cases. So it's naturally it was not meant to happen overnight. So what's exciting to me is seeing all of these projects and complex projects for that, um, having all this adoption and becoming the standard. Like for example, some time ago nobody would understand what a metadex is, and right now that's pretty standard. So it's like a revolution on its own, and people understand more about the both escrow mechanics and so on. I mean, we can go on forever here, but my point is there's a lot of complexity that people, I think that the floor is raising, in which we are on a, on a different level now, for a baseline for people to, understand these more complex concepts. And it's awesome to me when I go to events around the world, different conferences, and you see all these projects, and you talk with all of these people that building so many cool things, that literally is unimaginable the amount of thought that it's put into it. And if you want to understand all of the developments that people are doing, your brain would just explode. Uh, but yeah, it's really cool to see that uh, decentralization is, a revolution. I think I what I love the most about working in Web3 is I'm part of this revolution, and because I'm building right with a team. We're also a conglomerate of different Web3 companies called the DeFi Zoo, and we have different protocols that we work together. And being building here, it's amazing. But even if you're not a builder and you're just a user, it's great to participate in the ecosystem, and everyone can join. And as I said, a lot of projects have their governance tokens, so you as a user can decide on the future and be a part of this revolution. So in modern world, I think this is the biggest revolution in the world right now, in finance, where we are taking the power off of centralized entities and giving that power to the people. I think that that's something super valuable, and something that wakes me up every day, with the will to build more and continue in this journey.
Lanky, last question for you for this show. This has been amazing. Really enjoyed talking to you. Is, we started with the mechanics. I kind of want to wrap this up with mechanics as well. Is there is any mechanic, any like possibility that you're looking for that should be coming to Web3? Maybe it's coming very soon, that will open up new doors to new opportunities.
Great question. Great question. Yeah, I think there are several missing mechanics, but if you think about what's already put in Web3, it's the basic things have been here since the start, but I guess there's a lot of things that have been coming as iterating different ideas and combining them. Um, but I would say there are things like Depin or CK that could be expanded much more. CK is zero knowledge, which really brings another layer of decentralization. And yeah, I'd say like in those fronts, things could grow even more in the future. So yes, I'd say that's something that we should also look into a lot.
I love it. I love it. Lanky, thanks so much for being here. Really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for breaking down complex things and simple matters. I know in the Web3 community, that
Mhm,
is the hardest part, is
mhm,
to get out of our mind space where we
mhm,
already know all the terms, mechanics, why
mhm.
things matter, stuff like
Yeah.
that, making them accessible to the masses. We want to make Web3 accessible. We want to show it's safe, it's amazing, it opens up new opportunities. It's not just this weird space that people are building something there and we don't understand. We wanted
Mhm.
to make it super accessible to everyone.
Yeah, no, as something else I also could say, if I could add one more thing, is that, for example, the soul bond tokens, that it's something that could be expanded a lot more with, for example, they're non-transferable tokens that you own as a person, and let's say it's like your digital identity. And I think like society could start using more of those kind of technology in Web3 for things like voting in your country or society decisions or things like that. We could, in theory, start using Web3 as a society to decide and vote on things on real life for your country or for the world or whatever, and keep democratizing not just finance but everything in the world. I guess that would be something that could be amazing. Yeah, super excited to be part of this episode. I'm very happy that you invited me with all of these good questions, and even got me, um, thinking and even at here at the end of future possibilities. But it's really amazing. I really like to even go even as with more simple explanations sometimes to users that might not be so experts in Web3. But it's really good to go through all of these questions with you, and I hope that my explanations were not that hard. I tried to make it um, digestible for all types of audiences. And yeah, I really appreciate being here today with you.
Yeah, likewise. Pleasure is mine. And I think you did amazing explaining this because I'm the advocate for casual users of Web3 and I understood everything you were saying. So that's a good sign.
Nice, nice, nice. And everyone is, if you want to check out bonds, you can join our platform. You just go to ape.bond, and you can follow us on Twitter and join us in our Telegram or Discord servers. And we'll make sure to welcome you with also a very helpful and friendly community to onboard new users. Doesn't matter the level of experience you have, that will welcome you. And happy to have more apes in the jungle.
Amazing. Lanky, thanks for your time. We'll chat soon and maybe we'll invite you back to the show sometime in the future.
Most definitely, most definitely. Thanks a lot and have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.